What's up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing. Still breaking down Grand Lake. That's right, I think we're on our 6th video now. We did 5 Google Earth videos, and now we're going to switch over and we're going to talk about the offshore hotspots on this lake. And you're like, what are the offshore hotspots? Well, basically what we do is we go out and we look at the contours on the lake and we try to find high percentage areas for you guys to fish. That's what we're going to do tonight. Checking out Grand Lake. Let's see what we find. Before I jump over into the Navionics mobile app, I just want to kind of remind you, remember when we went through on the last few videos, I think we had 4 different videos of the Google Earth, we went through all these different waypoints that were in here. We talked about break walls and rock and debris and all that good stuff. And I kept telling you I'm going to skip over this offshore stuff because we're going to come back to it. Well, now we're actually back to the offshore side. Google Earth's a little bit tricky here, so it's going to take me a minute to pull up all these waypoints. But now you see we have a lot of offshore stuff to talk about, and it wouldn't do me any good to come out here and talk to you about this spot right here being a good offshore spot on Google Earth because you can't tell what's going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over. We're going to use that Navionics mobile app to show you the contours on this, and then we're going to start just like we did before. We're going to start at the dam and work our way all the way up and then back down the left side. So let's jump over. Let's look at that mobile app. Man, we have a mountain to climb for offshore hotspots for Grand Lake of the Cherokees. I do want to throw out there, if you have purchased a Grand Lake card in the past, I think there were only a few that we had purchased. I'll try to send you guys an email if I can to remind you guys. But if you see this and you can show proof that you've purchased Grand Lake of the Cherokees, I'll give you a new card. There's a lot more offshore hotspots on here. I don't know what happened with my import, but we lost a lot of the offshore spots. So the cards that you have didn't have all those offshore hotspots on there. So just ping me, Tyler at Simplistic Fishing. I have your, as long as you put it under the right email address, I'll have proof of the order on my side. Just let me know. If not, if you've got a proof of purchase or something like that, just send it to me and I'll make sure to take care of you. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in here and get started on this. We go down here to the dam, and then we're going to work our way, up the west side, or up the east side, and then all the way down the west side. And so, of course, this is going to look at it with the Navionics mobile app. And of course, I'm not going to be able to pick every single offshore hotspot on Grand Lake. It's just not possible. I guess it would be possible, but it'd be a billion different waypoints and things like that. So really the purpose of this is if you're not familiar with this lake, maybe it's the first time going to a lake like it would be for me, I'm picking out the high percentage areas based on the mapping from Google Earth as well as from the contours based on where I think really you should put a lot of your attention to. Now, the cool thing about this is if you find one of these waypoints that's really, really good and you like it, is you can now establish a pattern really, really quickly to match those types of things. And so you can do that with Google Earth. You can do that with these offshore hotspots as well. So let's just go ahead and get started down here. We're going to start at the dam. There's some interesting stuff going on down here, right? There's lots of contours and things like that. But when we look right in here, these are the 2 areas I really think you should pay some attention to. You've got a really good flat right here at 10 foot. And then notice right here, we have this really big sharp break right here on the inside of this flat. I marked that one, but also look at the outside and really the entire flat. You've just got a really good flat right there. Also out here, you've got a really nice flat that comes out as well. Plus you have the road bed that's right here too. So another thing to take a look at as we move up, and you'll hear me talk about this a ton, I'm sure, on these offshore videos, is I'm paying attention to this river channel, right? There's major river channels out here. So you got major ledges and stuff like that for those spotted bass as well that you could probably find out there. If they have spotted bass in here, I'm not sure if they do. But if we look out here, you've got a really good river channel swinging up against stuff. And you'll notice that anytime it gets close is probably where you're going to see a lot more of my markers. And that's just because those are higher percentage areas to fish around. So we see it right here, right? And you've heard me talk about this a lot, is finding the edge of that break, wherever it stops to break and finally comes up a little bit shallower. If you can find that, that's always a good spot. Well, this isn't exactly that. It's coming off the bluff wall and it is a point. It looks like it stays pretty deep and it doesn't actually shallow up until back in here, but there is this road bed back here too. So I just like this point in general just because based on where it's setting, right? It's the first piece of land that this river channel actually swings up against. So you're gonna have a lot of debris and stuff like that all up in here in this area. And I guess actually the river probably flows this way. I'm not sure, I'll have to look at the map, but either way, that's still gonna be a good place because of where it's at. It's a river channel swing. Now also on that swing, you're also looking to see if you see any type of other points around that swing or anything like that. Those are always good areas to fish as well. And so you're seeing that right here too. Of course, you don't see much here, but if I zoom in, you can tell it's just kind of a little bit of a rounded point. Nothing too crazy, but just based on where it's situated is why I think that would be a good area. So let's keep going down here. Let's see what else we can find. Now we get down here, this part looked interesting to me because it looks like you've almost got like a hard spot here, maybe where you have some rock ledges or something like that. But notice how tight these contours get right here in this area. And then, you know, they're pretty well spread out, and then boom, right here you've got some type of a ledge or something like that. So I would definitely look at that. You know, it's not that deep, so it shouldn't intimidate you too much as you go over there as a bass fisher. Now let's keep moving on up, and we're gonna keep coming up here. Now obviously the main river channel's up here, right? It's coming this way or whatever way we think it's going. It's probably going the opposite, but I'm gonna say it's coming down this way. But as we're looking at it, you know, obviously these are going to be higher percentage areas, but that doesn't mean that these areas aren't going to hold fish. They definitely are. This is a very big lake. But you come over here, they're probably going to be a little bit more limited. But as we come over here, we got a nice little rounded point. Now I put a waypoint here. Looks like I got two here for some reason. But basically I just put it there because somebody put in there that there was a brush pile there. And when I went and looked at Google Earth, I did not see a brush pile there. So I'm guessing and I'm hoping that that brush pile is still there. It would make sense. It's right off of a nice rounded point, so I would check that out. The next area would be down here to this point. It's got a really nice flat top to it, real gradual. And I also like the fact you got a creek bed off to the right of it or to the east of it. And then it's also going back into, you know, possibly spawning areas. You know, these aren't facing the north, but there's still some flats back here that they could get into. So these little secondary points there and over here would be interesting places to look at. This is another one of those brush piles that we were talking about. So I'm going to come out of that little cove. We're going to move up a little bit more. And the next thing I'm finding is really up in here. This spot intrigued me. Because if you look at it really from a contour, and if I keep moving this back, I'll make you dizzy. Back and forth, I'll make you dizzy. But you have a pretty good little flat right here where my little hand is. And then right off that flat is a massive lip, like a big drop or something like that. So right in there, you know, they could come up here to feed, get up shallow, and they could easily just drop back in here and be in pretty good depth. So I would look in there. It's not main river channel stuff or anything like that, but it's definitely a spot that I would go take a look at. I would probably also look right in here off of this point. I know I didn't mark it, but as we're looking at this now, you know, I'm kind of going over it. I'd probably come up in here and just kind of check this stuff out. You've got kind of two different ledges going in here, so they could be at different depths. It's kind of that first point you get to before everything splits off, so definitely something that you might want to consider looking at. Let's keep moving up. And again, of course, you know, I can't mark every single offshore thing. So if you're like, hey, you missed that secondary point back in that cove back in the east side on the west coast and blah that, well, I'm sorry, but I can't pick them all. But if you want to share your waypoint with me, I'd be more than happy to put them out here for everybody to go take a look at. So let's keep moving on, see what else we can find. There was this spot back here that I know it doesn't look like much, and it probably isn't much, but if I was fishing just by myself, and if I didn't even have my son Landon with me to say, what the heck are you doing back here? I'd probably come back and look at this. And the only reason why is because it's kind of a secondary point that's back here. It's a place where they can hang out before they bust back here or bust back here. And if you notice, it kind of flattens up right in this area as well. Now, it could be absolutely nothing. That's why I didn't put a mark here, because I don't have high confidence. But sometimes those types of things are the things that I look for, because they're not so much community type things that really jump out to me, like this main point right here, you know, right off of the side of the river channel. Of course, that's going to be an offshore hotspot. It sets up perfect for it, right? You'd also want to check out this point too. And then, of course, I've got points over there. But that other spot I was telling you about, it's not really so obvious. Like if I'm looking here and I'm looking at the screen, looking around, And I'm probably going to focus more up on this river channel of what's going on there, or this creek channel. I'm probably not going to be paying too much attention to that little spot right there. All right, so let's keep moving on and see what else we can find. Love, 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 love this little hump or point that comes out. It looks like it's a point, and then it has a hump that comes up after the point. But right in here just looks perfect. And you got main river channel here, really, really, really deep water, and then a really nice little hump that comes up there. Let's see what that is. That's at 27 foot, so it's not too bad. Would probably be a great place to go find some offshore stuff. Let's go back in here into this main little cove back in here. It says Dripping Springs Yacht Club. We're not going to go that far in there. We're only going to come back to this little area here. But like this secondary point here, just like it because it's pretty gradual, right? It's got some decent depth. And then if you look back here, this looks like an old pond dam or something like that that's going on. And those can be sneaky good, especially these that are like a little bit deeper. This one's 14 foot, then it drops off to 20 foot and 26 foot. So this is kind of where your pond is. You know, looking in there, those can be juicy spots sometimes, and people don't even pay attention to them. So I'd go take a look at that. Then we're gonna get back up here on the main river channel swing. We're just pointing out these points, right? You wanna take a look at those points for sure. You would even wanna take a look at this point too, just because it's got a lot going on around it. It's got this other creek channel or river that's coming into the main river system. Plus it's got the main river channel swing coming right off of it. So all of this area, you know, just right in here would be good. And then, I don't know, even going out that bridge says it's a submerged bridge. I don't know how deep that is. If it's 100 feet down there, then it's not worth it. But if there's some debris and stuff maybe up here closer towards the point, they could hang around that stuff on both sides as well. All right, so let's back this out. Let's keep going. Now we're gonna go down, basically down this arm. So let me pull this back. We're gonna go down this arm. And so I'm gonna keep going down here. Now there is some stuff, you know, that I would definitely check out as I was scrolling through here, but nothing too crazy that really jumped out at me. I got back into here before I really found something that I thought, you know, that looks pretty dang juicy. And this one right here looks really juicy. It's a little point that comes out. You got this little flat area right here, right? And then it comes out and it gets super steep right here. So I like that. And then I'd probably jump over and fish this right here too. You've got another one of those flat top points, secondary points that are back here in this area. And there's not too much more of that going on back in there. Coming out here, a lot of deep water, but I like this spot too. This spot's just kind of like a little flat that comes out there. It's 10 foot way out here. And then it has that major drop that comes off there. So I like that. I kind of looked over this one here. This one's at 15 feet, comes out, pretty decent little hump out there that you can see. Or actually it's like a little point that comes out. So you may want to check that one out too. If that other one's good, if this one's good, just look up on your contour map and you'll probably see this one and go right to it. So let's move back. Let me pull this back, see what else we got back here. I'm gonna scroll down. Now, obviously there's some good looking stuff around these bluff walls where this creek channel's swinging and stuff like that. I did like this out here. It's a hump. It's pretty deep. It's about 25 to 30 foot deep, I think. This one's, well, it says 40, but it's not 40. It's 38. So yeah, I guess it's pretty close to 40. But you got a 38 foot hump there, but it does break off into like 60 foot. So maybe a wintertime thing or an early summertime thing. You can go out there when they get really, really deep and maybe find them out there. Moving on down, there's some submerged bridges, things like that. I did like this area over here. It's got the roadbed that comes through here. And it's got a nice little point there. Plus it's got some flooded timber back in here too, which we haven't seen too much of that, at least on this map. And then I'm just gonna kind of move back. There is a little spot right in here that looked interesting. That must have been a Google Earth spot. Oh, it's a brush pile. So there's a brush pile right there. So mark that one for you guys. And then also over here, notice this pretty big, shallow flat that's back in here, right? But then if you get off the edge of it, where the creek channel is right in here, that looks like that could be some pretty decent fishing. Just fishing from right in here up, you know, and staying right around where that ledge is or where that lip is, right around where that creek channel is. That could produce for you. And then you could flip over to this other side. You got a nice little point going on right here as well. You could also come over here, right where the creek channel swings to this side, and fish right in this area. But you could spend some time in here and probably putting yourself in some pretty high percentage type areas. And you could follow that same thing all the way down. Anytime that creek channel gets up there and starts swinging up against the bank line, fish those areas, right? All right, so let's move on back. We already covered that spot, so we're gonna come up here. Now this one's pretty interesting too, but it's right where that break, right? It's super, super deep, and then it's breaking off and coming up to those areas. It's just one of those areas that looks like, you need to take a look at. Moving on up here, we probably got another roadbed that's up here and some flooded timber. We see that one. We even talked about that one earlier. And then we're gonna come up in this cove. This is an interesting spot right here. As we get up here, we've got this roadbed that comes all the way through, so you could really scan this entire roadbed if you wanted to. Plus, if you look over here, you've got some kind of a ledge going on right outside of these boat docks, like right in here. So my guess is maybe that creek channel doesn't come out this way. Maybe it comes more inside of here, but it doesn't make sense because you've also got the bridge that's there too. So you probably just have to do some scanning in this area. Looks like it could have some potential, but right here too, you've got a really good flat top point with a roadbed coming right over the top of it. Up here, kind of the same thing, maybe not as good of a point, but you definitely got a point. And the thing that's cool about this is, again, it's that really deep stuff. And it's right where it transitioned off to a little bit more shallow. Plus you've got that roadbed that's there too. So pretty good looking spot there. Coming out here, this was a spot that just kind of jumped out to me. It's 12 foot right here. It's 13 foot out in this area. It's like a nice little hump that's out here. And if I don't have this zoomed in and I pull it back, you're really gonna see it. There's some pretty sharp breaks going on around this hump. There's some on the front side and there's some on the back side of it too. Let's move on up, see what else we find. This is another good looking point. Someone's actually marked it, but another roadbed coming across this point. So you want to scan around this roadbed and things like that, but also the top of this point looks really good. It's flat. It takes a while for it to really get into some deeper water. It just looks like a really good spot for people to put brush piles and stuff like that, I'm sure, especially being similar, fairly close to that river channel there. Let's move on up, see what else we got. I got a little secondary point that's up here, so you want to check this out. I think that was another one of those where they said there was a brush pile, so I went ahead and just marked it for you guys. I like this point too. Notice how this point has that flat top again? And then notice how you've got this really deep water and then now it's breaking off into the shallower stuff. Again, a couple different things going on there that would make me interested in taking a look at that spot. Let's move on up here. We'll go through a few more and then we'll cut off this video and we'll come back and try to finish it up in one or two more videos. But when we get up here by this island, by Abby Island, the backside's got a little bit of a saddle going on, not too much, but that front side's got some really good breaks to it, which means it's probably got some good rock around it or something like that. So taking a look at the front side of that island might be worthy. We're gonna come up here, we're on the bend now, so kind of show you where I'm at. I've worked my way up to here. We're swinging around. We're gonna go back in this little cove that's out here. That's Goat Island. So we're gonna go behind Goat Island. Actually, let's go in front first. So in front of Goat Island, there's a couple things here. One that I probably could have marked would have been right over here. There's a little high spot here, you can see it. But I like this stuff like here, where the shallow points, big, long, shallow points, right? Fall time. This is the kind of stuff that you're looking for. These main lake, main shallow points that come way out into the water. This is your deal. Plus you've got a roadbed coming right here, and you've also got another roadbed that's coming right down on that side as well. Then we're gonna come over here to the other side of Goat Island, just like this point, right? We've got main river channel coming here. So this is obviously going to be a really good point, being a main river point, but it looks like you got a really cool looking ledge that's fairly close to the bank line here. So you'll want to check that out next time you go out there. Then we're going to swing around. We're going to go to the backside of Goat. Now, as we get to the backside, this is another one of those places where I believe there's a brush pile here, but look at that nice little spot they put it on. It kind of comes up to a point right here. It gets real gradual right in here, off to some really deep water. Just kind of a perfect spot to put that in. Going over here, you've got this roadbed that's over here. You've also got a gradual little point that's right here too. But pay attention to that roadbed. And if you're fishing around the docks, you could pay attention to the roadbed as you're in between the docks. And then again, another little secondary point here, good little flat top with some pretty good break that goes down. So that gets us out of Goat Island. Let's move on up here. Now we're by Saddle Island. Man, I would have a hard time remembering all this stuff. You've got some awesome contours going on in this lake, obviously, right? All over the place. Up here, this little point here, could have marked this one too, because notice how gradual it is here, but how deep it is here coming off that river channel swing. It's another one of the spots I was telling you about. You could take a look at that. I mean, just look at how deep and how big a drop you have. Got this little point here that sticks out. That's probably what? 11 foot. So that's probably a really good looking point compared to everything else in there. I probably should have marked that one too, but again, can't mark them all. I'd have 1,000 marks out here. Let's look here too. Now this one's a little bit bigger, a little bit more obvious, but you got the good flat top. You got kind of double shelves here, but then over here on the east side of it, you've got this river channel or this creek channel. So that's gonna be a creek channel swinging right up against this thing. So that's gonna make that higher percentage for debris, rock, all that good stuff, right? So that's where the fish like to go. Now we're also gonna move down here. We got a little flooded timber off of this one. Good little shallow flat top on this point as well. Looks like we're down in Big Hollow. So down here in Big Hollow, you want to take a look at that one. Then we're gonna move on up. We're gonna get out of here. Didn't see anything too crazy here, but I'm gonna go ahead and point out just a couple of them for you because don't want to miss them. But I think this is the one we talked about a minute ago. I would look at that one for sure. You got a little pinch point coming here behind this island. So things like that, especially being right there behind the island like that, could be pretty good spots to take a look at. We'll come on out, another main lake point there. Then we're gonna come over here. We're gonna go into my favorite type spots, and that's that whole tapering area. So it's happening right in here. But then if you move over here, you kind of have this little underwater hump that's going on here too. So the mark could be there, but it could even be all the way back, like right in here too. I would probably be more apt to say right in there, but not sure why the mark ended up right there, but close enough because that could be good too with that hump being there. Now this stuff would be cool, big old ledges out here, 88 foot to 63 foot. That's just not my game, so I'll skip those. But obviously those things are gonna have fish out there. Not sure what kind of fish you're gonna have out there. The largies probably aren't gonna be way out there, but there's gonna be all kinds of other fish out there for sure. All right, so let's move over here. Let's talk about some of the stuff that we do want to aim for. That's the largemouth area. Is this Sweetwater Bay Lighthouse. It's got a really good hump that comes up. It's got a decent little saddle behind it. It's got really good breaks off to the front of it as well. It's a place I would definitely check out. Then we're gonna move up. We're probably gonna finish once we get to this bend up here. So let's just talk about a couple more of these. There's that lighthouse. Here's a couple more points up here. It's these flat top points with big breaks on the outsides of them. Those are always gonna be really good areas. You could even come over here and fish this bridge. It's 40 foot of water, but you could take it out. But while you're fishing there, swinging over here, this is another good looking point right here. And then another one right here too with the roadbed on it. So some good looking, juicy stuff. All right, let's see where we are. We're right here. So let's go ahead and stop right here on marker 81. And when I come back for the next video, that's where we're gonna start at. And then we're gonna keep working our way west, just like we did on those Google Earth videos. Keep working our way, or not east, keep working our way to the east until we finish basically on the north side. And then we're gonna come all the way back down the west side. So it's probably gonna take us a couple more videos, so stick around, should be a fun one. Guys, make sure to go out and check out the website, simplisticfishing.com. Not only do we have Grand Lake out there, but we have about 190 other lakes out there across the United States, Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma. We have a lot in Oklahoma for sure, even more in Texas because that's where I am from. But then, we start scattering out Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, we're all over the place, Mississippi, Louisiana. You count it, you send it to me, I'll break it down. Anyways, go check it out, simplisticfishing.com. And until next time, guys, I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.